How's it going, guys? Wanted to show you guys sort of the latest plugin in my suite of plugins. Well, and kind of explain all of them together because I haven't really done that. These are plugins that I'm creating in JS in Reaper to do generative music in Reaper. I wanted to do this, you know, I was working in Sonic Pi and I was working in title cycles, and they're very cool, but you know, I've been using Reaper for 10 plus years. I'm pretty darn good at getting ideas down in Reaper. I'm pretty good at finding a good sound in Reaper, and I wanted to use all my nice plugins and have some kind of a GUI interface, you know, along with my my kind of generative code-based stuff. So, you know, that's something you can do with, say, Pure Data to an extent, or Max MSP. But again, I was happy in Reaper. I knew the scripting language exists, and so I wanted to learn it. So anyways, the most recent thing I made, and I really like it, is this triggered random riffer here. Okay, what you do, you pick your root note, you pick your mode, the scale you want to play, and the root note, and then you tell it how long you want your loop length to be, and how large of a span of octaves you want it to choose notes from. Okay, so if I set this to 4, when this hits right here, it's picking notes from all over the place. If I change this to 16, we get a longer riff, a longer loop. What I found with this one is, you know, if you're going to do 16, you probably want to repeat it about 4 times. So take these triggers out here. I'll talk about what those triggers do in a second, but it might already be a little bit apparent. So what happens every once in a while when I change this, it breaks. I might have to figure that out. So there's a nice 4 measure loop, right? Or 4 note loop, rather. So anyways, what this does is, you know, I made all these static lists of steps for every mode, right? So as we know, the Ionian, aka the major scale, is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, right? And etc. for all the different scales. And that makes it completely generic, right? You pick your root note, and then you pick your scale, and you've got any mode you want. I plan on adding more to this, more variety to this. There's all sorts of things we could do. Whole tone scales. I could do odds or evens inside of a mode. I could do the first half, the second half, whatever. There's a lot of stuff I could do. I also plan on making one of these that plays chords instead. So probably just program in all the tritone chords of a scale. So then what it does on trigger MIDI note 5. So when you send it MIDI note 5, it populates this whole list of up to 32 notes. In fact, it always populates 32 notes, which is why I don't know why the damn loop length makes it break every once in a while. Might be something with Surge and how Surge is reacting to it. Anyways, then it just fills a whole array of those with those values. And then down here, every time it receives MIDI note 4 in, it ticks through that array. So you can actually do a lot with how you add rhythm into this. Like right here, if I switch to this guy. Turn it up a little bit. So yeah, it's only ticking through when these MIDI note 4s, which, MIDI notes start with 0, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, E -2, and then F2 is what re-rolls the riff. Okay, re-rolls the whole, the 32 possible notes in the riff. And again, if you set your octave range really high and all that, it'll pick from a pretty wide range of possible notes. So yeah. Oh, the last thing you might have noticed, I am also randomizing the velocity. Okay, which is fun. I might, I'll think of maybe a little trickery to make my velocity randomize small or large, I guess, because right now it goes all the way from potentially 0 to 1. The other thing, you might have also noticed that it is dropping notes sometimes. That is on purpose. There's this very simple plugin right here that drops notes by flipping a coin, and if the value rolling the dice basically, and if the value that it rolled is less than 13 right here, the drop rate, it'll throw the note away, and if it's greater than it, it'll let the note pass. So we're just dropping a couple notes every once in a while here. But if I put this to 64, it should drop about half of them. Starts to make it less obvious that there's any kind of real riff going on. And then if I turn this all the way up, everything's gone. Did this wrong yesterday. Anyways. Yeah, so that thing's also very fun. I honestly, anything you make, it doesn't matter if it's a song you made completely by hand, right? Or if it's generative. Try dropping this in, just to add a little bit of variety. It's on the the drums. And look how simple the drum beat is. Of course, I'm not dropping notes now all of a sudden, but this is set to drop notes every once in a while. And it adds just a little bit more variety. So then there's this guy. This is a key hack generator. And all this thing does, so this whole row of triggers up here gives us a random value along these sliders. And then what I do is I use parameter modulation. I can right click on any of these. Parameter modulation MIDI link. Link from effects parameter. To link it to one of those. It barely ever re-rolls those. It's only once per this entire 128 notes. But if I made that thing trigger constantly, whoops, wrong one. Because you can see that guy going wild over here. Anyways, the other thing I've got here is a triggered random walk. Okay, and what this does is it's kind of the same thing where we've got a bias, and this thing rolls the dice, I think every sample cycle. I'm not exactly sure how internal timing works in Reaper with these things yet, because my plugins have just worked and I haven't had to learn about it. But it rolls the dice, and if the dice falls below this bias number, it's going to change this value by a random number between -1 and 0. And if it's above the bias number, it's going to change the value by random between +1 and 0. Okay, so it gives it quite a random walk sort of behavior. Now, as you turn the biases up, they tend to creep a lot more steadily. But you will, if I attach this to pitch or something really obvious, you would certainly hear an organic quality to this, where it's a little bit bumpy. It's a bit of a bumpy ride. So yeah, that's very cool. And that's been a lot of fun. And then these also get reset. So it says here, these notes reset. Those are the very lowest notes on the scale here. Now I'm probably going to change the notes that trigger these guys, shift them up to because I've realized I can trigger root note and mode changes, and what I'll probably do is just every time you do a note trigger going into this, it will shuffle up by 1. So if you wanted to go from C to E, for instance, you would just 1, 2, 3, 4, send it 4 quick triggers. If you don't know, by the way, in Megababy, let me get this guy open. In Megababy, if you hold down Shift and right click, you can subdivide notes. So there's 4 notes right there. And so if you think about it, people are likely to not even hear, if you're just changing keys real quick, the listener probably won't even be able to hear it as it shuffles through to the next root note. This isn't going to do that. That's just going to tick through the notes. I haven't implemented that feature yet, but that's coming up next. And also look for a plugin that will... Oh, that's really nice. Wow. I haven't done that yet. So yeah, that'll be next. Is one that does chords as well. And I plan on continuing to add to this, so eventually I'll have a very, very robust suite. But already, I would say if you're clever enough, sorry, I want to hear this. I would say if you're clever enough with what parameters you're modulating, with these guys, for instance, you could have enough parameters on an instrument, a VSTI going, a synth going, changing, right, every time you trigger these, that they could sound like totally different patches. And so with that, and with maybe some of these attached to your drums or whatever, you could really have a whole sort of algo rave, 40-minute long set kind of thing going just with this. And then, when you want to change something, it's so easy to just come in and mess with the GUI. Now, it's easy to code quick lines of code, especially in something like title cycles, where one tiny line of code is so powerful. But this is my workflow. I'm super happy with it. I encourage you guys to play around with it. The code's on GitHub. I'll put a link in the description. Change this to 8 again, see if it breaks. See, that's what I'm saying. It shouldn't break. That was totally fine. I don't know why it happened. Turn this up a little. Oh, before I forget, I really, really want to give thanks to, sorry, I have no idea. I should have looked up how to pronounce this name. I'm assuming it's kind of a common name. Who knows? This fella from Amsterdam who has made amazing, amazing plugins, JSFX plugins, and he happens to be on the Discord. And he, along with a few other people, but there's nothing I know of theirs that's public that I can point to, who really, really helped me understand how arrays work in JSFX so that I could make my riff plugin, which was super important. Huge piece of the puzzle. So thank you guys so much. Anyways, I'm going to play around with this for a few more minutes and then shut off the recording.